What's going on, everyone? So lately I've been focusing on a lot of positive, having big green days, which is great. But we all know that that's not the case every single day. There's going to be those red days. So today we're going to do a red day recap. This is from Wednesday, May 25th. I went for the NVIDIA kind of bull flag, new high day move, stuffed on me pretty quickly, and I lost $988 in 2 minutes. Losses are a part of the game. There's no such thing as making money every single day or having every trade go your way. The most important thing is when those trades go against you, and especially for myself, I just want to make sure that I do a really good job getting out of the way. Don't let that loss get out of control. So now let's get into the newsletter watch list. What I was watching: Tesla, NVIDIA, Facebook, Netflix, and Boeing. And this is my newsletter watch list. This is everything that's going on in my head. I post this on my private Twitter 30 minutes before market open each day. I do a quick analysis of the overall market, the SPY and the Qs, if there's any major market news that day, all the stocks that I think are worth trading, if there's any news tied to them, and all the levels that I think are going to be in play. And then to the left, this is everything that I'm posting on my private Twitter, the newsletter. I take a screenshot of the charts, green line to the upside being long, red line to the downside being short, and then I make sure to highlight the two major levels above that. If you're interested in getting access to this, there's going to be a link in the description below. So now let's get into the technicals and the why. We'll start with SPY. To the left, that's a daily chart, what it looked like coming into the 25th. Got below prior day low, then buyers stepped up, held up all right. Still below the 9 EMA on the daily. Weakness off the open gets bought and red to green, then clears prior day high at 395.15. With pre-market high above, the bounce can continue. Has room to 397, 400, breaks pre-market low and remains weak with prior day low below at 386.96. Buyers from prior day would feel pressure, could pull back a bit, has room to 388, 385. And now the Qs, so closed red yesterday, so showed some relative weakness and still below the 9 EMA on daily. Dip gets bought off the open, then red to green and gets above prior day high, 288.86. With pre-market high above, could bounce, has room to 290, 293. Gets below pre-market low and stays below with prior day low below at 282.25. Could pull back, has room to 282, 279. And now Tesla, so broke below 633 yesterday, which was a big area of support. Still very weak. Can bounce if reclaims prior day low at 620.57, then red to green and clears pre-market high. Has room to 644, 655, then 665, 670. Weak off the open, then gets below pre-market low. Could continue to sell off. Has room to 610, 600, then 590, 580. And now NVIDIA, so red day yesterday, it continues to remain weak. Bear flag on the daily, holds 158 support, then red to green and clears pre-market high. Could bounce, has room to 166, 168, breaks pre-market low with prior day low below at 157.80 and the prior daily low at 155.67. It could sell off, has room to 153, 148. And now Facebook, so broke below 185 on the daily, which was major support, could continue to trade on elevated volume. Dip gets bought, then red to green and clears pre-market high with prior day high above at 183.68. Could move into the open upside gap. Has room to 188, 191. Below pre-market low with prior day low below at 176.11. Could get selling pressure because the trend has been lower. Has room to 174, 170. And now Netflix, so been consolidating for numerous trading days on the daily. 176 is the bottom end of that consolidation. Dip gets bought, then red to green and above pre-market high. It could bounce. Has room to 185, 187. Below pre-market low and below that 176 support. Could sell off. Has room to 170, 167. And now Boeing, so a bit of a bear flag forming on the daily. 117 is major support. Bulls step up off the open, then gets above pre-market high. Has room to 122, 124. Below pre-market low and that 117 support, could get selling pressure, has room to 112, 108. So now let's get into the actual trade. So what happened off the open? It had a nice push higher. It actually formed a pretty quick flag pattern right here. Wish I took this one because it had follow through, but I didn't. I just wanted to be patient. Let's really wait for this thing to set up, look good, and give it a chance. So this is where I thought it looked pretty good. Formed a bit of a bull flag, right? Also that high a day, just realizing that it had a big move higher. Came down to VWAP and the 9 EMA, held both of those indicators, and then this is the candle that I got long on. So when it went for that new high a day, I ended up going long thinking that if it could clear it, it would get some follow through to the upside. So NVIDIA ended up holding the VWAP and the 9 EMA, starts to push towards the highs. This is a really good example that sometimes you buy towards the highs, it pulls back on you, or you short towards the lows and it immediately bounces. That's kind of what happens in trading. It's hard to be perfect. Every now and then you're on the wrong side of it. So I ended up going long when it made that new high. I took 500 shares because NVIDIA was reporting earnings after the close. And sometimes those options can be very expensive. You got an elevated IV, so I felt like going shares was the better option. So I went long 500 shares and I got filled at 166.73. And even though I feel like I did an okay job at getting out relatively quickly, I could have done a better job. So the moment that this stuffed at the highs and it got below 166, that could have been my get out quick. But that worst case scenario is going to be below that candle low that I got out on. Also knowing that if it gets back below VWAP and the 9 EMA, maybe this thing could totally change direction, flip on me in reverse, and I don't want to hold a loser. So when that completely engulfed that green candle that I got in on, I ended up just accepting the loss. I sold the full position and I got out at 164.75. It did not go quick. As a matter of fact, it stuffed pretty quickly and I got long towards the high. It happens, it sucks. But at the end of the day, I ended up losing $988, which isn't terrible. It never feels good to lose money, but I just want to make sure that I do my absolute best to never let it get out of control. And I feel like on this trade, I did a good job. So that was the red day recap. Hopefully you got some value from the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just want to talk about a couple cool things that I have to offer. The first is going to be my newsletter watch list. This is exactly what I post on my private Twitter 30 minutes before market open every single day. I do a quick analysis of the overall market, the SPY and the Qs, if there's any major market news that day, and then all the stocks I'm interested in watching. It's usually 4 or 5, if there's any major news tied to them, and all the levels that I think are in play. To the left, this is exactly what I'm posting on my private Twitter. I make sure to add that newsletter. I take a screenshot of the charts, green line to the upside being long, red line to the downside being short, and I make sure to highlight those 2 levels above. This is everything that's going on in my mind and my game plan going into each market open. Also, I make sure to add a little mental note because every day is slightly different, and here's an example of that. And if you want something that's a little bit less of a commitment, I do offer a live one-on-one call for 1 hour. This is where you can ask me questions about my journey, go over setups specifically, everything that I've gone through as a trader. Whether you're beginner or advanced, this is a great way to connect with me. So if you're interested in my private Twitter or the one-on-one live call, feel free to go to callmattdiamond.com or check out the links in the description below.